It's 1954. 70 years ago today, a man steps out of Lindau train station to attend his first ever Nobel Laureate meeting. He is a Nobel Laureate, but not for physics, chemistry or medicine. He is a Nobel Prize winner for peace. The first to ever attend a Lindau meeting. The man's name was Albert Schweitzer. He wrote about his visit. I was very impressed by the many and great celebrities. I played with Heisenberg on the organ of the local church. How I would have loved to come to Lindau again. So, who was this man? Why did he come to Lindau? And what happened when he did? Thanks to newly available letters and photographs from the time, we can share the full story. To many people in his time, Albert Schweitzer was one of the great humanitarians of the 20th century. Born in the contested region of Alsace between Germany and France in 1875, Schweitzer was known for leaving his career as a Protestant theologian and philosopher to study medicine. He then moved to Lambaréné in today's Gabon. Together with his wife Hélène, he built a hospital to fight leprosy. That hospital is still running today. He was also an accomplished organist, and images of him playing the organ in Africa made him famous. In 1932, he had warned against the rise of the Nazi Party at a widely publicised lecture. He was a staunch pacifist and received his Nobel Prize for his philosophy of reverence for life, not just human life. At the time, Schweitzer was revered the world over, be it the US, Japan or Europe. Many put him on a par with Gandhi or Martin Luther King. Today, some might see his humanitarian work as having a patronising or colonial angle, and historians disagree on his legacy. But in the early summer of 1954, Schweitzer's popularity was at its peak. A few months before, he had been awarded the Nobel Prize retroactively. And in November 1954, after his visit to Lindau, he would travel to Oslo to receive it. But how did Albert Schweitzer come to Lindau in the first place? In fact, right after the first Lindau meeting in 1951, co-founder Franz Karl Hein had written to Schweitzer in order to explain the idea and scope of the meetings. Then, in March 1954, Hein sent an official invitation to the fourth Lindau meeting, held under the joint protectorate of Count Bernadotte and the mayor of Lindau. Count Bernadotte followed up on the 13th of April that year, emphasising that the meetings had nothing of those official and thus often dreary conferences, but that the mood was always quite familiar and warm. In his reply, Schweitzer writes of his need to recover from the building of another hospital, and his interest in participating at least in part of the meeting. He is thankful to the mayor for paying for his stay at Hotel Bad Schachen. But what he needs above all is simply the best organ available, and he insists the public should not be informed about his performance, or else the church would surely be overcrowded with listeners. A few days later, Dr. Hein confirms that a semi-secret organ concert in the Protestant Church of St. Stephan has been arranged, and so Albert Schweitzer agrees to participate in the fourth Lindau meeting in 1954, dedicated to medicine. How short a programme looked then! And though assembling 13 Nobel laureates, even beyond the discipline, the meeting's participant directory is hardly worth mentioning compared to today's. Indeed, many things were different then. Invitations went out by post, to all doctors in particular. And there was a programme for the ladies. Glad some things have changed since then. So what did Schweitzer do at Lindau? Schweitzer arrived on Wednesday, June 30th, 1954. Carrying his well-worn suitcase, he was greeted by Lindau's mayor, Frisch, at 7:30 p.m, before being rushed off to a concert. Later, a tired Schweitzer found, beside his welcome package, many letters from people across Germany who wanted to express their admiration. While Schweitzer did not give a public lecture, he attended one, again accompanied by the mayor. On Thursday, he listened in to Nobel Laureate Buchanan's talk at Lindau's City Theatre and took his seat next to Werner Heisenberg, a man who was known both as a pioneer of quantum physics and for his controversial role within the Nazi nuclear weapons programme. On that evening, the famous semi-secret organ concert in St. Stephan's took place. Schweitzer wrote, "I played with Heisenberg and others on the organ of one of the churches. Heisenberg plays the organ very well." Then, as now, the Lindau meetings included a boat trip to the flower island of Mainau, where Schweitzer was greeted by Count Leonhard Bernadotte, Countess Bettina's father. A group photo with fellow Nobel laureates was taken. Finally, Schweitzer walked the splendid island gardens with Count Bernadotte's daughter Cecilia, and next to the Count, young Beate Hein, daughter of the co-founder, who is here with us today. Schweitzer wrote about this in his unpublished diaries. Just above Thomas Mann's private address in Zurich, he reminds himself to send a gift to Cecilia and meticulously notes down a donation of 20 Deutschmarks made by a local pupil. But above all, his visit received huge media attention in Germany. 1954 was the first meeting that really saw a substantial participation of young scientists. This also led to an image that has since become iconic for the Lindau meetings. It expresses the core of the Lindau spirit and conveys all the enthusiasm and optimism that came with Schweitzer's visit, just a few years after the Second World War. Perhaps the most lasting impact of Schweitzer's visit came from the discussions between Schweitzer, Werner Heisenberg, and Otto Hahn, another prominent nuclear scientist. After meeting in Lindau, Schweitzer stayed in contact with both of them for the rest of his life. Sometimes they spoke of quantum physics. In 1958, Schweitzer would request a copy of Heisenberg's lecture given on the occasion of Max Planck's 100th birthday, highlighting some of its philosophical implications, and he received a typescript with dedication. In 1954, one topic could not be avoided. In spring of that year, Schweitzer had published an article on the dangers of the H-bomb in the Daily Herald. He was about to dedicate his Nobel laureate lecture to the same question, and in 1957 he wrote programmes for Radio Oslo on the subject. Otto Hahn publicly supported Schweitzer's 1957 stance against nuclear armament. Heisenberg, for his part, later stated that it was the presence of Albert Schweitzer at the 1954 meeting that gave us the occasion to rethink the humanitarian side of science. In 1955, the famous Mainau Declaration, an appeal against nuclear war signed by 18 Nobel laureates, was spearheaded by Heisenberg and Hahn. Today, as we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the first visit of a Nobel Peace Laureate to the Lindau meetings, we may do well to reflect on the wider responsibility that all scientists bear.